So, what's the best way to think about company culture? And more importantly, what type of culture will you thrive in? Well, helping you figure that out is what this video is all about. Hi, folks. Welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's happy and healthy and doing well. So, today we're going to go over the company culture grid. And as always, we need to start by deciding the two dimensions, the two axes of our 2x2. Which is obviously quite important. If we don't get that right, the rest of it is just not going to go well, right? And so the two axes of the company culture matrix are actually the two R's, relationships and results. And what that refers to is really where the company culture places emphasis. Is the emphasis primarily placed on fostering and maintaining good relationships between coworkers, maybe even friendships? Or is it primarily placed on achieving results, tangible results, including financial results, of course? And that really goes to sort of what does it mean to be a good team player? And the order in which we're going to discuss the four quadrants, as usual on this channel, is bottom left first. This is frequently the place where you don't want to be because it's the low quadrant. We call it the red quadrant as well. Then we go to the top right, which is usually the best case. It's the high. Those two are usually, quite frankly, non-brainers, right? And that then leaves us with the two yellow quadrants, the bottom right and the top left. And those are usually quite interesting. They pose interesting issues and interesting challenges in terms of figuring out what it is that we're going to do there. And so in terms of the company culture grid, starting at the bottom left, this is the dead zone. It's not particularly high on culture. It's not particularly high on results. It may in fact be quite low on both of them. And this is obviously the quadrant to, quite frankly, avoid at all costs for the reason that nothing really good happens here. This is not a good company culture. Moving on to the top right, which is of course the very opposite. This is the sweet spot. This is a place where coworkers care about each other. They may even be good friends. And they also care about achieving superior results. Now, we said this is the sweet spot, and it is. But it's also not an easy place to reach, and it's not an easy place to stay. And the reason for that goes, quite frankly, back to human nature, which I think we all recognize. It is really difficult to be good friends and at the same time being very honest with each other about results. And in particular, there is a risk that friendships and relationships will fray if someone isn't carrying their weight and his or her coworkers need to point it out to them and need to try to work out how to fix that. It's just basic human nature. And in addition, it turns out that it's really difficult for organizations to stay here as they grow and add more people. And so where we normally see this type of culture is in startups. Good friends who started a company together, who are motivated and focused on performance because it's a scrappy startup and obviously everybody needs to contribute and contribute at the top of their capacity for the startup to survive and prosper, but who at the same time are still good friends because they have long-standing friendships. And this is why it becomes once again difficult to maintain it once organizations grow and become bigger and maybe no longer depend on this focus on results for survival, as well as bring in people who maybe don't have long-standing relationships with each other. Bottom right is a place where we care about results and results only. People here collaborate because they believe that collaborating will be beneficial to them. These cultures can be quite ruthless, especially with people who don't carry their weight. These are cultures that are focused on achieving results, dividing the spoils if you want, and then people going their separate ways. These organizations can actually be very successful because, once again, they are laser focused on performance. They are laser focused on results. However, they can also be very tough places to work because there is very little tolerance for people not performing at the very, very top level. And to survive in those organizations, not only do you need to be focused on performance, you also need to have pretty thick skin because sooner or later you will slip and people will be very quick to point that out to you, and you need to deal with it. And so for these organizations to be successful over the long term, they really need to be very clear about who they are in terms of recruiting people and being very explicit with the people whom they recruit about what their organization's values are. Because clearly, if you get people who are not as laser focused on results and maybe a little bit more focused on relationships, that is going to be a mismatch that is simply not going to work very well. The top left, of course, is a very different place. This is an organization where maintaining good relationships, maybe even friendships, and being very nice to each other is very highly valued and is clearly valued above results. And people can be very nice and usually are in those organizations. The downside is that if people don't call out their colleagues who are not carrying their weight, the organization's competitiveness can obviously erode over time, and that is really the problem here. Those can be very nice places to work, but not necessarily places that are good at remaining competitive, and therefore not necessarily recipes for long and successful careers. So there we have it, and to wrap it up, bottom left is the dead zone. This is a place to avoid. It's a organization that really doesn't have a clear and good culture. It's low on relationships, it's low on results, and quite frankly, it's not very likely to be around for very long. The opposite potentially is the top right. These are organizations that are very high on maintaining good relationships between coworkers, maybe even friendships, but are also very insistent on achieving results. The challenge, as we said, is sort of maintaining these cultures as organizations grow and are no longer scrappy startups fighting for survival. Bottom right can be a good place, very focused on results for the right person. A person who is looking to benefit financially from working for this organization and develop their friendships somewhere else. The top left, potentially nice and cozy places to work for a little while, but very unlikely to remain competitive, and potentially not necessarily the best places to develop skills either, because they are not as focused on performance and results as they probably should be. So that's it. Hopefully you found this useful and will find opportunities to apply it in your life as you think about your career, where you want to work, where you're going to thrive, as well as the culture of the organization that you work for right now. And so let us know in the comments below what you think. And also, please let me know what other topics and decisions you would like me to produce future videos on using our 2x2 approach. And with that, thanks for watching, be well, and take good care. Bye-bye.